Well, Father, I call that handsome of Lady Dalrymple. Very handsome indeed. Don't you, Mr. Elliot?
Yes, I do. It's a very generous gesture.
May I see the letter again, Father? Lady Dalrymple is very much honoured and will be happy in your acquaintance. Happy, she says.
Her handwriting's very poor.
The rich are always respectable, Anne, whatever their style of writing.
Oh, Miss Elliot, a carriage is stopping outside your door.
Oh, someone else we don't want to see, I expect.
Well, Sir Walter, Miss Elliot, I do believe it is your cousin.
What, Penelope? Oh, where? Where? Yes, it is. She's leaving her card.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's only proper. I left mine in Laura Place. Naturally, our cousins wish to return the compliment.
I'm ashamed, Lady Russell, simply ashamed.
You have no need to be, my dear.
They're not even agreeable people. There's nothing to them at all.
Don't be foolish, Anne. It is an acquaintance well worth having.
I don't see why.
Lady Dalrymple will be staying here for 3 months and living in style. When I was here last year, everyone said she was charming.
Oh, that only means that she smiles a lot and is civil.
And what is wrong with that?
Well, my self-respect has suffered anyway.
You're not being very sensible, Anne.
Oh, surely you agree with me, Mr. Elliot, that there's nothing to our cousins.
Well, not in themselves, perhaps. But as a family connection, as good company, as people who will collect good company around them, well, they will have their value.
They're not my idea of good company.
Ah, what he is.
Clever, well-informed people with a great deal of conversation.
Oh, then you're wrong. That's not good company. That's the best.
Quite right, sir.
Oh, for good company, all that's needed is birth, manners, and education. People aren't too particular about the education.
And that is exactly what I mean.
In good company, a little learning isn't dangerous. In fact, it will do very well. Ah, I see you're fastidious.
Well, I certainly hope I am.
Oh, my dear cousin. You have a better right to be fastidious than almost any woman I know. But will it make you happy?
Well, I don't see how not being fastidious will make me any happier.
But wouldn't it be wiser to accept the society of these good ladies, your cousins, and enjoy the advantages of the connection as much as possible?
But I don't see any advantages at all.
Oh, but I think you will. And they will be moving in the highest society of Bath this winter, and rank is rank. People will know of your connection and give your family, our family, let me say, every consideration we could hope for.
Oh, everyone will know. There can be no doubt about that.
I don't understand your attitude, Anne.
Well, I think that far too much trouble has been taken to make the Dalrymples' acquaintance. And I am certainly too proud to like being welcomed solely for my social position.
Oh, I love your indignation. It's very natural. But you're here now, and the point of coming here surely was to establish your father with all the credit and dignity he ought to have.
Well, I suppose so.
Of course it is so, Anne.
You say you're proud. Well, I'm called proud myself. I wouldn't wish it otherwise. Our prides are not so very different if you examine them.
No?
No. On one point at least, my dear cousin, I'm sure we feel the same. Every new friend your father makes, whether his equal or his superior, will help to divert his attention from those beneath him.
Yes, on that we can agree.
What, Anne, reading? What's the use of that? You'll only spoil your eyes. You should come with us, your cousins, the Dalrymples.
Yes, they asked after you.
Oh, how kind. How are they?
Not very well.
Lady Dalrymple has a cold.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But they've asked us to go there again this evening. We've accepted, of course.
Oh, I'm afraid that I can't go.
What? Why not?
I've arranged to spend this evening with an old school friend.
What old school friend? Where does she live?
In Westgate Buildings.
Westgate Buildings? And whom is Miss Anne Elliot to be visiting at Westgate Buildings?
Well, she was a Miss Hamilton. Now she's Mrs. Smith. She's a widow.
A widow, Mrs. Smith. And who was her husband?
Well, Mr. Smith.
Ha! One of the 5,000 Mr. Smiths whose name one sees everywhere, I suppose. And what is so attractive about this widow, Mrs. Smith?
She's a very old friend and she's not at all well.
Oh, so her attraction is that she's old and sickly, is it?
Really, Anne?
Upon my word, Miss Anne Elliot, you have the most extraordinary taste. Everything that revolts other people, Low company, paltry rooms, foul air, disgusting associations you seem to find inviting.
Father, I have made the engagement.
Well, surely you can put this old lady off until tomorrow. She's not so near her end, I presume, that she can't hope to see another day. How old is she? 40?
No, she is not yet 31. And I cannot put her off because this evening is the only one that suits us both.
Oh, she's so very busy then, in spite of her illness.
She is going to the warm bath tomorrow. And as you know, we're engaged for the rest of the week.
What does Lady Russell think of this acquaintance, I wonder?
She sees nothing wrong in it. Indeed, she approves. In fact, it is she who has generally taken me there.
Indeed. Well, you've certainly kept this friend of yours secret. Perhaps we should be grateful.
Westgate Buildings must have been rather surprised to see a carriage drawn up to its pavement. Sir Henry Russell's widow, of course, has no honours to distinguish her arms. Still, it's a handsome equipage.
Oh, well, Father.
Well, it's well known to convey a Miss Elliot in any case.
I don't expect so, Father.
Of course it is, Anne.
A widow, Mrs. Smith, lodging at Westgate Buildings. A poor widow barely able to live between 30 and 40. A mere Mrs. Smith, an everyday Mrs. Smith. Of all people and all names in the world to be the chosen friend of Miss Anne Elliot.
Yes, Father, that is what she is.
Preferred by her to her own family connections amongst the nobility of England and Ireland. Mrs. Smith, what a name. Yes, what is it?
A letter for Miss Anne, sir.
For me?
With the compliments of Admiral and Mrs. Croft, miss.
Oh, thank you.
Eh, what's that? The Crofts arrived in Bath. The Crofts of Rent Kellynch. What have they brought you?
A letter from Mary, sir.
Oh, how nice.
Ah, letters are very convenient passports. They secure an introduction.
Quite, Father.
Though I'd have visited Admiral Croft anyway, I know what's due to my tenant.
And what is the news of Mrs. Charles and her two fine little boys, Miss Anne?
Well, she says they had a very dull Christmas.
How is Mary? And pray, what brings the Crofts to Bath?
Well, they've come for the Admiral. They think he's gouty.
Ha! Gout and decrepitude, poor old gentleman.
Well, do they know anyone here?
I imagine the Admiral has many friends, don't you?
I suspect that Admiral Croft will be best known in Bath as the man who rents Kellynch Hall.
Oh, undoubtedly, Sir Walter.
How many horses did he travel with?
Oh, I don't know, Father.
Oh. Do you think we might venture to present them to Lady Dalrymple, Elizabeth?
Oh, no, Father, I think not. We must be very careful not to introduce our cousins to anyone they might not approve of.
Oh, quite.
If we weren't related, it would be different, but we are. Lady Dalrymple might feel scrupulous about anyone she'd met through us. Now, I think we should leave the Crofts to find their own level.
Yes, yes. There are several odd-looking men walking about here who, I'm told, are sailors. Let the Crofts associate with them.
Oh, quite.
Oh, is there any news, Miss Anne?
Not unless it is in the postscript. I've never been so astonished in my life.
Well, it's certainly a surprise.
Louise are engaged to Captain Benwick. No one ever suspected it at all. And Mr. Musgrove has given his consent. Captain Benwick is staying at Uppercross already.
Well, and you told me Louisa was in love with Captain Wentworth.
Yes, I know. Everyone thought so.
And wasn't this Captain Benwick supposed to be inconsolable over the death of Miss Harville?
Oh, well, I never quite believed that. But this is extraordinary. I can't think how it happened. Well, Louisa's so high-spirited, and Captain Benwick, well, he's thoughtful and sensitive.
Well, Anne, I think it's time you followed Louisa's example and found a thoughtful, sensitive man for yourself.
Oh, I would if I could. But who?
You can hardly be unaware of Mr. Elliot's admiration for you.
Mr. Elliot? But he's in mourning for his wife.
Not for very much longer. And if you should feel disposed to accept him, it would be a most suitable match.
Oh, no. But, well, Mr. Elliot is very agreeable, and I think very highly of him in many respects, but we wouldn't suit each other.
Well, you must know your own mind, of course. But I should be very pleased to see you as the future mistress of Kellynch, the future Lady Elliot.
Lady Elliot?
You would take your dear mother's place.
Oh, no. No, I could never do that. Lady Elliot? Oh, no. No, I could never accept.
What have you against him?
I don't know. His past, perhaps.
But, Anne, he's a changed man.
Is he? We don't know that, do we?
We can tell from the way he behaves.
Oh, yes, his manners are perfect, but he's not open. He's too discreet. He never seems to feel strongly about anything.
Discretion is usually thought to be a virtue.
Yes, I know, but I like people who are frank and eager and open-hearted. Mr. Elliot never says a hasty word. I don't trust people who never do that.
Well, Anne, I must say your attitude, I find it rather strange, my dear.
Mr. Elliot is too agreeable. That's his trouble. He pleases everyone. Even Mrs. Clay.